Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. And it's Tuesday now, and it's what? The next Thursday was Thanksgiving, so I guess you all are probably out getting food and stuff like that. You know, your turkey and everything, and getting stuff ready for family gatherings and everything. So I hope that all works out. You know, for some people it won't be very good Thanksgiving, but you know, for the rest of us, it you know, make the most of it, I guess, right? Weather here's been wet and chilly and damp and cloudy, and I hear there's a storm moving across the country that's like the storm size almost of half the United States is just moving. You know, I don't know what kind of a storm that's going to bring here, whether it's snow or not. Maybe it could be snow, but I don't think it's going to be a lot. Probably just some wet snow, so it freezes and makes the roads slippery, you know. Because it hasn't really, you know, people have been saying, oh, this is a very unusually warm period. It is. It is warm, okay? It is warm for this time of the year. But it's all par for the course, I guess, for global warming. We've got to expect that, you know. So I want to say here, before I get going here, I had a video on this channel here. It had to be taken down because one of at the very beginning of it, I had like a segment from TV that was in it, and it got flagged, I guess, for copyright. So they blocked it, and I had to take it down. So it was there. It was a but what I did is I actually put the link to that story on my you know, on my channel, so you can at least watch it there to see what I was going to tell you about on there. So it was a Jon Stewart segment that that somebody had put from their page. Obviously they could do it because they're, you know, they paid for it, but you know, I don't make money off of this thing, so I didn't pay for it. I just took the segment from his channel, put it on mine, and I guess I just couldn't do that. So anyway, if you want to watch that that video there, it's in there, and it talks about what Jon Stewart had pointed out to people in this country about how the Democrats are kind of they like to play by the rules to a fault, and they need to learn more about how to play things the way the Republicans play it. They don't let rules stand in their way. What they do is they look for loopholes to get around the rules, and Democrats, he figures they need to do more of that, okay? Because you can't win a fight by standing way up high on the high ground where you can't reach the people that are, you know, that are causing you trouble. You know, you have to get down to their level, you know, and you know, he feels that's, you know, and I think in a way he's right. I mean, you know, your enemies aren't going to stand on a high ground of their own if they're constantly in the gutter, right? So you can't reach these people down there, and so you have to come down to do the fighting. And you know, I think that is probably one piece of why Kamala Harris didn't win, is because she started with the high ground and talked about lofty things and stuff like that. Well, Donald Trump was just totally the opposite, and apparently that's what people were wanting to hear. They didn't really want to hear. They don't believe in hope anymore in this country, and stuff. And so, that kind of rhetoric grabs people's attention. It scares them. Fear, just ginning up the fear. And so whenever they get in power and Democrats try to say you can't do that because the Constitution says this or the law says that, Republicans say, okay, fine, we'll just find a way around it. And when they do that, Democrats are like, oh, well, okay, But they, you know what I'm saying? They don't fight back. They don't fight back hard enough. Okay, so yeah, if you want to watch that, please. It's it's funny, and at the same time, it's educational, I guess. All right, so I do have this video that I can put up here. It's from Brian Tyler Cohen. It's about 9 minutes long, and they're talking about how Trump is fueling the border hysteria, and now he wants to put tariffs on all goods coming in from Canada and Mexico. Okay, higher tariffs, 25%. All right, so that means more punishment on us because we got to pay that tariff. Okay, I'm hoping people are keeping up with how tariffs work here, because this is how it's going to happen. Okay, the places that ship us the goods, they're not the ones paying the tariff. They just increase the price of whatever they're shipping us, so that way we end up paying that tariff. Okay, for the companies. All right. So that means our groceries are going to be greatly impacted by this new 25% tariff on us that we're going to have to pay, which I don't think is a shock to many people, because I think Democrats all knew that, hey, if we get him back in there, the price of food's going to go up. All right, and sure enough, that's what's going to happen. It's like people have been saying, we told you so. But Republicans are so paranoid, so conspiratorial, that they thought we were lying to them all this time about the things Trump was going to do and how it was all going to shape this country. They didn't want to hear it because they thought, you guys don't know nothing. You guys are just a bunch of, communists, or whatever the fuck they were giving you for a name of the week. Okay, they were coming up with all kinds of shit to try to, discredit us. But at the end of the day, what they were throwing at us was shit, because they were getting garbage from Fox News and other places, all right, fed to them, which they never challenged. They never backed up and looked if there was any fact to it. They never bothered to do any of that. Now, the lack of their not being, the lack of their being prepared for what was coming is coming home to roost. It's like they didn't study before the exam, and now they go to take the exam, and I didn't know there was going to be an exam today. So that's how they're behaving. Okay, and so now here they are finding out each day new truths are coming out to these people, and it's chipping away at Trump's supporters. I'm telling you, before he becomes president, his approval rating is going to be right in the fucking gutter. Okay, he might have had it high when he won, but that was the day of the election. Now we're what is it, 2 weeks? It's already being eroded by the things that's coming out, that these maggots are finally realizing, geez, we didn't know this, we didn't know that. Well, it's too late. So here we go with the video here, and I'll catch you on the other side.
In a move as dumb as it was predictable, Trump took to Truth Social, writing, "As everyone is aware, thousands of people are pouring through Mexico and Canada, bringing crime and drugs at levels never seen before. Right now, a caravan coming from Mexico, composed of thousands of people, seems to be unstoppable in its quest to come through our currently open border. On January 20th, as one of my many first executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States and its ridiculous open borders. This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country. Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power to easily solve this long-simmering problem. We hereby demand that they use this power, and until such time that they do, it is time for them to pay a very big price. Put simply, get ready for higher prices. Here's the deal. Something I've said 100 times before the election, and something I'll apparently have to say 100 times now that the election's over. Tariffs are a tax on the consumer. This is not a hit to Canada or Mexico. It is a hit for American consumers who buy whatever it is that are being imported from Canada or Mexico. For example, where do you think that most of our fruits and vegetables come from? Take a look at this chart that shows the reality of where our vegetables actually come from. See all that green? Those are our imports from Mexico. See all the red? Those are our imports from Canada. That is 15 billion pounds just from our neighbors to the north and south alone. Tariffs are not going to impact Mexico or Canada. They are going to be passed on to the importing companies, and those companies will offset those higher costs by raising their prices to the end users. We are the end users. But okay, let's follow through on Trump's logic here. Maybe he's hoping to spur manufacturing right here in the US. Maybe he hopes it'll jumpstart our agriculture industry and offset all of those high prices from other countries. You know what we're going to need a lot of? Workers. And yet, what's Trump's plan for the people who actually compose the vast majority of agriculture workers? Well, he's looking to deport them. In other words, Trump is going to make our vegetables more expensive because of this misguided notion that tariffs are the answer here, at the exact time that he's seeking to expel our labor force that could actually pick up the slack right here at home. Masterful gambit, Donald. Masterful gambit. And it's not just food. Expect gas prices to surge, particularly in the Midwest, when a 25% tariff is slapped onto all Canadian oil supplies. According to Patrick DeHaan, the country's best-known gas analyst, refiners in the Great Lakes, Rockies, and Midwest rely on Canadian heavy crude oil for feedstock to refine. If these millions of barrels are tariffed at 25%, that's going to basically mandate refiners pay a lot more for feed. Guess who pays? End users, consumers. And that's if Canada doesn't respond by cutting oil exports to the US, which is definitely possible if both countries insist on a back and forth of shooting themselves in the foot. In other words, Trump may not only be spiking prices for American consumers, especially as it relates to food and gas, but this could be the beginning of what may very well turn out to be a bruising trade war for the US. And for anyone who thinks that Trump couldn't possibly saddle us with a trade war, might I remind you that he literally already did it with China in 2018. According to the Tax Foundation, the Trump administration imposed nearly $80 billion worth of new taxes on Americans by levying tariffs on thousands of products valued at approximately $380 billion in 2018 and 2019, amounting to one of the largest tax increases in decades. Aside from fuels, take a look at this chart to see what the US imports from Canada. Cars, tractors, trucks and parts, machinery and appliances, aluminum, iron and steel, wood, plastics, paper, pharmaceuticals, fertilizers. Or how about this chart to see what the US imports from Mexico? Machinery and mechanical appliances, electronics, cars, tractors, trucks and parts, film equipment, beverages and alcohol, iron, steel, plastics, furniture, bedding, lamps. We're about to get the world's most expensive lesson in what tariffs actually do to the cost of everyday goods, all courtesy of Donald Trump. And look, we can go on and on about how these tariffs are going to touch every part of our lives here in the US. But what I think is the most brazen part of all of this is that Trump and Republicans spent the better part of a year criticizing, lambasting the Biden White House for high prices as the result of inflation, which of course was out of the White House's control. It was a global phenomenon. And by the way, as a result of that inflation, that global phenomenon, there wasn't a single incumbent party in any industrialized country on earth that didn't lose seats in their majorities or just lose their elections outright. And the US was no different. This was a miserable year for incumbents across the globe, and the US certainly wasn't spared. And Trump, whether fairly or not, was the beneficiary of that anti-incumbent sentiment. And yet now, the first thing that he's seeking to do in office is going to be to take action that'll have the effect of raising prices? So either he truly doesn't have one single person in his orbit who understands the consequences of imposing tariffs and their impact on consumers, or he never actually cared about lowering costs and he just attacked the Democrats on an issue that he recognized was potent while being fully willing to exact even more pain on the country for the very thing he accused the left of doing. Take all the time you need with that one. Granted, there is one person who may actually be purposefully misconstruing what tariffs are going to do. In response to Trump's threat to impose tariffs, Elon Musk took to Twitter, writing, "Price of fentanyl will rise sharply." I'm sorry, does Elon Musk think that fentanyl is shipped here legitimately and therefore subject to the tariffs imposed on other goods? What? What does Elon think? That fentanyl comes in a big container marked fentanyl and now it's going to be taxed at a higher rate and therefore more expensive? More than 90% of fentanyl is transported via ports of entry where cartels smuggle it in, primarily in vehicles driven by US citizens. That is 90%. But let's think for a minute why Elon would want these tariffs. Might it have something to do with the fact that 1/3 of North America's vehicle production occurs in Mexico and Canada, but Tesla's manufacturing occurs mostly in the US, meaning this was going to hurt car manufacturers except for the one that Elon owns. But hey, I'm sure this is definitely totally about fentanyl. Got it. And if you need a more digestible explanation of tariffs, here's my friend David Pakman breaking it down.
So when it comes to Trump, do you dislike his policies or him as a person or both?
I don't dislike Trump as a person in the sense that I've never met the guy. So I think he has a lot of personality traits that make him completely unsuited to being president. And also, I think his policy prescriptions, to the extent that they exist and he understands them, which is a different part of it. A lot of the stuff Trump talks about, he still doesn't know how tariffs work. We're 8 years into this thing, 9 years in. He still thinks China pays the tariffs when they're paid by American companies.
Yeah, I've seen him talk about tariffs.
Very confused guy.
Wait, so China's not paying tariffs right now?
The tariffs are paid by the American companies that import the Chinese goods. That's the way it's such a fundamental, and I see you looking a little confused on this one.
Yeah, I'm confused.
This is the way tariffs work. What Trump did is place tariffs on Chinese imports. By the time the imports get here, China's been paid for the stuff. Maybe they get net 120 terms, right? But in a sense, China has already transacted. The American company who brings the goods in pays the tariffs.
Really?
You're kidding right now.
No, I thought he said he was raising the tariffs by 50 to 100% for Chinese imports.
You got to clip this. I'm begging you. You got to clip this and send it to me.
I'm genuinely
None
confused.
of this stuff is getting cut out, right?
No.
Oh, my God.
We post everything.
Please. The tariffs are paid by the company that does the importing. So if you want to build a building in the U.S. and you import Chinese steel, you pay China for the steel, you pay the U.S. government the tariff. This is why it's inflationary. Economists have looked at Trump's tariff proposal and said it would make stuff more expensive for Americans by adding the cost of the tariffs to the total cost of production. So that's the way tariffs work. A lot of people don't seem to know how tariffs work, which is sad because this is how people end up getting sucked into Trump's vortex. He says something that sounds good. I'm going to punish China with tariffs.
Yeah.
In this case, that sounds good. Chinese tariffs. They're paid by the American companies.
Wow.
That's why it's so damaging.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send me this part of the
No, I
conversation.
will. I genuinely had no idea. I thought China was paying those.
Yep. No, China's not paying them.
Yeah. I thought they were, though.
They weren't. They're not. Yeah.
So why would he do that? I'm confused.
You'd have to ask him.
So if Trump carries out this plan, all I can say is that we should expect higher gas prices, higher grocery prices, higher car prices, higher alcohol prices, higher building prices, higher drug prices. But hey, at least Teslas won't be more expensive. And that right there is the consequence of living in this new kleptocracy that Trump is ushering in.
Okay, so you can take away from this that this is Trump's way of getting back at America as a whole. Okay, and he's including his supporters in that revenge. He doesn't like America, doesn't like its citizens, and he hates diversity, which means anyone in this country that isn't white, like any one of us that is white wants to be associated with him. Okay, we look at him as the orange man. Okay, because we don't even want to have the same skin tone as Donald Trump. That's how bad he's hated by some people in this country, and people who might have his same last name. I would change it because he is going to be like, how we use the word Nimrod to as a way of saying someone's stupid. Okay, when that name came from a king, I guess it was out of the Bible or something. And now that name is a word. Trump is going to be that. His name is going to go down in history as someone who's, corrupt, stupid, arrogant. You're a Trump-like personality. Okay, people are going to have to start using his name in that way, and for the benefit of future. Because when people wonder where that word comes from, they'll have to go into the history books and look it up. All right, to be reminded of who this man was. is for us, but was for them. Okay, so that's what I think we ought to start doing now, is we needed to take that name, Trump, and apply that as an adjective to describe how people are, or someone is, that's not, really has the same characteristics or some of the characteristics of Donald Trump. It's like we're tired of your Trump-like personality, or your Trump personality, and so that's something that I think should go on, because his legacy is a legacy of total disaster. Okay, a person that has a legacy doesn't have to be a positive legacy. It can also be a negative one, like Hitler had a legacy. His legacy will always be what he did to the Jews and World War II and all the shit he did there. That's his legacy. All right, he owns that. Trump needs to own this too, and he will, and he does own it. Okay, he didn't shy away from it during the campaign. He owned up to what he was going to do, and he's actually doing it. Okay, none of what he said was an exaggeration. Project 2025, I told you people to read it. Some of you did, and some of you just said fuck you. Okay, well, now it's fuck you back, because now you're the one that's going to suffer now. Okay, so here's another video here that kind of lays out what I just said here. Someone had put one. This is like, 4.5 minutes long. And it's about, we don't have any sympathy for Trump voters. We can't. It's hard to feel sorry for you people, because you rubbed it in our face about how, Biden was no good and all this and that. Okay, and now what you did to us is going to come back to you tenfold, because the guy who really deserved to be treated like the way you treated Biden is going to be president again. And then you're going to find out why. We were telling you people, you're dumb, you're idiotic, okay? You people don't know what you're doing. You're stupid. You're trying to scuttle the nation. Well, this is why. Okay, let's go to that video here.
A lot of people have probably heard me say over the last few weeks that I'm kind of running out of sympathy for Trump voters. I have done repeated stories on how the people who voted for Donald Trump are, one, already Googling how to change my vote, although you can't. And then, of course, a segment about a week ago where I talked about the fact that people who voted for Trump are now freaking out because they just now finally learned about his policies instead of doing that ahead of time. And that leads me to another viewer question. This one from Aaron Oric 8073, who asks, as more stories come out about Republican voters, buyer's remorse, how are your sympathy levels doing, Farron? Got to admit, mine are already running low listening to them whine, and he hasn't even been sworn in yet. Like you, I don't wish harm on anyone, but I don't care to listen to them cry over what they asked for. Reminds me of a quote that I believe is from Oscar Wilde. There are two great tragedies in life. One is not getting what you want, and the other is getting it. And that, I think, applies to these people that voted for Donald Trump that are now freaking out about it. You got what you wanted. Donald Trump, to his credit, if you can give him credit for anything, he wasn't, hiding his policies. He wasn't running away from them. He wasn't pretending they didn't exist or that the media was misinterpreting them. He repeatedly doubled down on them. He told you, he was open and honest about what he was going to do. A 20% tariff on every good coming into this country, 20 to 25 million people deported from this country. And y'all said, yeah, let's do it. And then, as I've talked about in repeated segments, these very same people do have that buyer's remorse. They're like, oh no, I didn't know this was actually going to happen. I didn't bother to do the research. And I got to tell you, in regards to the question, how are my sympathy levels doing? Not good. Again, totally do not wish harm on anybody, especially economic hardship. Because I've been there. I've gone through it. I have had my debit card declined buying groceries for less than $15. And I didn't have $15 in the bank to buy my food. I have had to not get my prescriptions refilled because I couldn't afford it. There was a long period of time. It was from November 2019 till February of 2020, right when COVID started, because I had to. I didn't have my asthma inhaler, and I need that every day. Like every day I wake up and I need to take it. So for 4 months, I didn't have it because I couldn't afford it. So I've been there. I know what the economic hardship is like. And millions of people are about to experience that exact same thing. And I do not wish that on anybody. Yet at the same time, when you vote for that, and either you knew it would happen or you were too lazy to learn that it would happen, how far does the sympathy extend? How much can we as individuals continue to feel sorry for people when you keep telling them like, hey, don't stick your nuts in the bear trap? And they're like, wow, I'm going to stick my nuts in the bear trap. Like, no, it's going to hurt. Nah, I'm going to do it anyway because you're being mean telling me it's going to hurt. At that point, it's like, well, you're in the bear trap. We told you it was going to hurt. And now they're crying, oh my God, it hurts. Why am I in this bear trap? Why did I put my nuts in the bear trap? Well, you did it to yourself. And I feel bad because I know you're in pain, but we warned you. We tried to help you. You rejected our help, and then you have the audacity to say that it was us being mean to you that led you to do this in the first place. And as I'm sitting here talking, like I'm actually talking myself out of having sympathy for these people. So maybe I should end it there before I just say, I hope you get what you deserve. Because I'm not there yet. But, getting closer by the day.
Not much more needs to be said about that. So why don't we just go to a commercial break. And when we come back, we'll have another 9-minute video here to watch about some big mouths that go to A&M University in Texas. So let's go to the break here. We'll be right back.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
It's falling, falling, it's falling.
I thought the tariffs would be paid for by the other country. I thought the tariffs thought they meant there would be more for me. All around in my hometown, there's talk of factories shutting down because the profits won't rebound. Tariffs run them to the ground, run them straight into the ground. I thought the tariffs would be bringing us prosperity. I see the tariffs, they will only bring austerity. The Chinese goods we will pay broke year after year. I thought the tariffs wouldn't make a trade war start for us. I see the tariffs, all our allies will be furious. Don has got his monarchy, Musk has his oligarchy. They don't care, they will be fine. We'll feel like it's 1929 by the end of 2029. I thought the tariffs would return work to America. I see the tariffs will move the factories to Cambodia or Mexico or Vietnam, Brazil. I thought the tariffs would be paid for by the other country. I see the tariffs will be paid by us, by you and me.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. All right, so I read here that Trump has vowed to kill U.S. offshore wind projects. You know, there's almost 65 gigawatts of offshore wind capacity under development in the U.S. Quote, we are going to make sure that ends on day one. They destroy everything. They're horrible, the most expensive energy there is, unquote. Oh, how does he calculate expensive? And just money? Because not doing this wind project is going to cost all of us dearly, you know, in the long term. But you see, Trump doesn't think long term. You know, he's really not a very good thinker when it comes to, you know, planning things out. He's really the representation of the 80s, if you think about it, because that's how a lot of people did their thinking back in the 80s, is immediate gains. Okay, they didn't want to work, you know, like their parents did to get the things that they got. They wanted it right off. Credit cards is where they went to get that. And when the credit cards got maxed out, they used their home equity loans. Okay, and we spent and spent and spent and spent during the 80s. And when we ended that decade, we had at the time we had the highest home home debt in American history at that time. Of course, it's probably higher now, but back then that was the highest it had ever been. People owed a shitload of money by the time we finished the 80s. And they didn't stop doing it. I mean, we went into the 90s doing that, but people started to lose their jobs and then lose their homes. And then finally, I mean, they're going bankrupt. You know, their bankruptcies were going up and everything. And that just from that 10-year spending spree that this country was going through, okay, we were starting to, you know, fall apart. That, you know, that system. By the time we hit the 2000s, okay, you know, it was only a matter of time before something was going to happen in the market, okay, and that's when the housing market fell, all right, and so people were losing their homes, and Donald Trump, he is that fucking mentality. So when he's sitting here talking about how the wind farms are gonna, you know, are so expensive and everything, and let's just go back to the way things were, okay. Shorts, for one thing, he doesn't even believe in the climate change theory. Okay, this is a guy who's called that a hoax. Everything that goes against him making money is a hoax. Okay, instead of taking the opportunity to jump on the new bandwagon, which is renewable energies and stuff, and making himself wealthy on that, he doesn't want to do that. He's too lazy to do the right thing, which, you know, I think a lot of people are of the same mindset as him because of that idea that, oh, it's just too different. People are afraid of change, you know. But he's going to take that, you know, and bury himself with it and take us with him, okay? And let me see. One of the things here that kind of struck me as someone had wrote, it says, the road to fascism is lined with people telling you to stop overreacting. A lot of truth to that, because I think, you know, that's kind of how, you know, we were talked down to by the right wing when we were talking about Donald Trump and what he's going to do to the country. You know, we were told to, you know, oh, you're just overreacting, or you're full of shit and everything. And then, you know, I see this picture here online. This was like at a fair or something like that. They had this wasn't recent. This was like, you know, way back. But during that fair, I mean, they had a Trump flag on one side and a swastika flag on the other side. And at the bottom it says, how dare we compare Trumpists to Nazis? Well, that's why we can say that, because, hey, they go hand in hand, right? But yeah, I mean, it's very, very weird, you know, how these people will try to explain that away. And then here we had this other thing that says the head of America's biggest teachers union slams Donald Trump's education plans. Because Republicans are threatening to defund critical agencies and groups. President of the American Federation of Teachers, Randy Weingarten, joins the weekend to discuss Trump's controversial education. I mean, he wants to get rid of the Department of Education, right? And, you know, he's putting people, he's putting a person in that department. I don't know why he's bothering, because if he's going to get rid of it, why would he put McMahon's wife in there? I mean, what the hell point is there in that if he's going to get rid of it? Unless she's in there to scuttle it, you know. But, you know, it's just more of the same disaster leadership that we're going to get, that we got the first time he was president. We're going to get that shit again. All right, so I told you I was going to see another video, and this is a 9-minute video about what went on in A&M chemistry class in Texas University. So let's go to that video, get you on the other side.
One of Donald Trump's core promises on the campaign trail was to pardon the January 6th insurrectionists on the day that he took office. Within hours, he will pardon all of the people who broke into our Capitol building and tried to interrupt the peaceful transfer of power. Now, the reason why I'm making this point is because this creates the permission structure for other right-wing extremists across the country to commit crimes, to be vile, to be racist, and they know that Daddy Trump will have their back, that they can be pardoned, that there is a whole community out there who will bail them out or will help them, and That is what I want to talk about today, because we are seeing that manifest on the ground in multiple ways. I want to show you this clip of a student getting kicked out of his college class for telling an immigrant that he can't wait till he gets kicked out, something to that effect. But also, in my hometown, in Indiana, and in other places around the Midwest, these KKK flyers saying leave now and avoid deportation were just stapled on posts and handed out at doorways and put in mailboxes. The KKK now feels more emboldened than ever, and we have a lot to break down. Make sure you drop a like, make sure you subscribe, and let's jump in with the video of this kid getting kicked out of his college class at A&M. This person on Twitter said, Trump supporter finds himself in an organic chemistry class at Texas A&M. The material is too hard, so he starts ranting about how another guy is an immigrant. This is a very common road to becoming a MAGA, just feeling socially isolated in one way, but also I like how he says Trump supporter finds himself in organic chemistry class. Like they're not supposed to be there in the first place. But let's watch this video, then I'll break it down.
Okay, I'm gonna give you one more warning, and I'm gonna ask you to leave, okay? Hold on. All right. Good boy. All right.
Can you stop, man? I'm trying to
So everybody wanted the context and story time of the video that I uploaded yesterday. So here's the context. As y'all know, I like going to different classes. I've made multiple videos in random classes. So this class, I went to this random class. Apparently it was a Chem 119 class, which is a freshman level chemistry class. And the teacher was talking and this student came in, started asking random questions, putting his hand up, saying rubbish. As y'all can see by the clip, the teacher gave him a warning, and then he did it again, and then he did it a third time, and another student confronted him and told him to, like, you're disturbing the class, told him to relax, and you can see what the student replied to about.
Average Trump supporter right here can't pay attention in class, so turns racist. Let me play this one more time. It's kind of hard to hear, so I'll just tell you what they're saying. Another student says, stop bro, I'm trying to study. He basically says, stop messing with me. And the Trump supporter says, you're an immigrant. Trump's in office, and let me play it and amp up the audio for you.
Can you stop, man? I'm trying to
He says, Trump is president, he can kick you out, shut up, immigrant. Lord have mercy. Let me just say, the immigrant who he is speaking to, if the dude's even an immigrant, I don't know how he knows that, but is totally in the right here. All he says is, brother, can you please stop? He literally says it in a friendly way. Brother, can you please stop? I'm trying to study. And this Trump supporter was on his third strike, and then the teacher begins to call security. There's a more extended version of the clip. The teacher calls security. The Trump supporter gets kicked out of class. It is absolutely absurd how emboldened these people feel. And, if that's not enough evidence for you, let me talk about my hometown in Indiana. I currently live and go to school in Chicago. I work out of Chicago, but I grew up in Northwest Indiana, and these flyers were passed out. Before we break down the flyers, this article is titled Ku Klux Klan Flyers Found Throughout Northern Indiana Communities Calling for Mass Deportation. Do you think this would have happened if Kamala Harris had won? Obviously not. These people would not feel anywhere near as emboldened. The KKK wouldn't be doing this stuff. I mean, this dude in this class wouldn't have the need to say that. He would probably feel like saying it because he's a piece of shit, but he wouldn't say that because Trump wouldn't have power. But this reads, some Indiana neighborhoods were met with eye-opening flyers Monday morning and Sunday night. Ku Klux Klan flyers were found in Goshen earlier Monday calling for the mass deportation of immigrants. That's not my hometown. I'm from Valparaiso. We'll get to that. This says, Kentucky-based Trinity White Knights of the KKK claimed responsibility for distributing the flyers. People in several communities were startled to see the flyers, especially in a diverse community like Goshen. And it's interesting because going back to Indiana, the area that I'm from, there are multiple Confederate flags all next to this big Trump sign that this house has, and it's just insane. Again, these people feel emboldened to act on their worst urges. Quote, it was disturbing, and we walked the dogs afterwards, and these flyers were just scattered all over the road, said Phil Waite, who lives in Goshen. The good thing is, a lot of these citizens seem to also be equally as disturbed. Watch this quick clip.
The flyers were first seen in Goshen Sunday evening, and even around noon today, I found more scattered throughout the neighborhood. Phil Waite found a few yesterday.
Like to have flyers like this in the open and targeted in this kind of way. This kind of sentiment's out there. I know it's out there. I know there are people who feel this way, so that's not surprising. But it's just really shocking to have it come to your doorstep.
It's shocking, and he hits on a point right there. It's open, we know it's open, but we're about to see a lot more of that. For another close to home example, close to home in a different sense, I posted a photo of my great-grandmother who immigrated from Syria 20 to 30 years back, and she voted in this election. She's been a citizen since 2008, she passed a citizenship test, and she's been able to vote. So I posted this photo of my grandma and her hijab, my sweet old grandma, and then all of the comments were saying, I can't wait until Trump deports your grandma. I can't wait until she gets the hell out of there. I mean, I showed it in a video a few weeks back, but I had to delete the post because after Trump won, the comments didn't stop. The comments got worse, and they were saying, oh, your grandma's done for now. It's just vile stuff.
And these flyers are not just specific to Goshen, but also 25 miles away in South Bend.
Somebody's trash broke open, so I went to go pick it up, and I noticed that it truly was trash. It had these flyers that
truly was trash. Now, the Goshen mayor said, to our Goshen community, this past weekend, some Goshen residents have discovered racist recruitment flyers from a Kentucky-based chapter of the KKK littered on their lawns. These flyers, intended to spread fear and division, urged residents to spy on their neighbors and report them to authorities. Okay, so I've given you guys a bunch of examples, not only the college class, not only my personal stories, but also this. It says the cities also received flyers were Valparaiso, Michigan City, South Bend, Elkhart, Goshen, Plymouth, Warsaw, Rochester, blah, 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 but Valparaiso is the city that I grew up in. And here's the thing. When Donald Trump is constantly using this apocalyptic rhetoric on the campaign trail, saying that rapists are coming over, murderers are coming over, they're poisoning the blood of our country is a dumping ground, and they're destroying it, then of course people are going to be discriminatory, but it's even beyond that. I mean, I bet a lot of Americans have this deeply embedded fear of immigrants or of anybody else who looks differently than them just because they've been socialized to be that way, but Donald Trump brings out that deeply embedded racism or fear and makes people just openly racist. I mean, the day after Trump won, Twitter was just full of people saying slurs, racist slurs, slurs against disabled people, just openly being vile in a way that wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. And listen, we can even concede there may have been a little bit of an overcorrection. Maybe there are people online who are a little bit too correct, let's say. Do some people feel like they're always walking on eggshells? Yes, but that is different from just being a vile person who's using slurs all the time. And to wrap it back to this, all of these people with this deeply embedded racism, it's now turning into this, where KKK members can openly recruit them by saying, leave now. Proclamation, mass deportation, January 20th, 2025. We need your help. Monitor and track all immigrants. Report them all. Avoid deportation. Trinity, White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. It says, for more information and an application, please send a return address, stamped envelope to, and then it cuts out the address there, but wow, now, proclamation. And this is supposed to be Uncle Sam kicking out immigrants when America's a cultural melting pot. You know, I'll leave it at that. Drop a like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.
Yeah, you see how what Trump's presidency is going to mean to people like this, okay? They feel like, oh, he's there now. He's the president, so I can say whatever the hell I want and get away with it because, hey, Trump's the man. He's the guy that's going to be there for me when, and it's like, you might think that it's okay to say that, but you got to remember what country you're living in, and not all of us think that it is okay to say things like that. So if you think you're going to bully other people in front of others and get away with it, you're wrong, okay? Because this ain't the America yet that you want. We're still here. We still got rules. We still got civility, or at least we're trying to hold on to it. We still have laws, against that sort of thing. And universities don't have to put up with that because that's their property. That's owned by the university. And it's like walking into a Walmart. You can't go in there undressed and naked. They have every right to turn you around and you get your ass out of here, okay? That's their property. It's their store. They can run it however they want. If they want you in there wearing, black coats or something, you can't come in here unless you're wearing black coats. They have every right to do that. It's up to them, okay? So, you go into these places, don't think because Trump is president that all the rules are gone now, that civility is out the window. No, you're wrong. There's going to be a pushback. And I'm glad that that teacher, you know, went ahead and called security to have that guy escorted out of there. In fact, I think they should just say, look, if he does it again, he's expelled. Okay? And, you know, when people don't get it up here, they're spending all that money in college and they want to destroy their chances of graduating and end up with a debt. Okay, that goes to show you how stupid they are. All right? They're in college, they're paying through the nose for their fucking education, and then they decide to start acting like a fucking child. And then they wonder why they get kicked out. And hey, you're the one that did it. You did it. You know, you knew better, because if Kamala Harris was the president, you probably wouldn't have felt so emboldened to open your big yap. Okay? But now that Trump's in there, you're going to see a lot of people going around doing this shit, just like the flyers that were being put up everywhere by the KKK, you know, with pictures of Uncle Sam kicking illegals out of the country. Okay, that's cute, really cute, but it's also not right. All right, and if they ever find out who did that, okay, you're going to get in trouble for that too, because Donald Trump didn't say you could do that either. Okay, just because he's the president doesn't mean you got a right to do that. So, you know, I feel like, you know, when they say elections have consequences, believe me, they do. And it also changes attitudes in this country, you know. And for a time, we had, you know, some level of civility in this country. In fact, crime rates went down under Biden, okay? But now I fear they're going to go right through the roof once Trump is sworn in. It's already starting, you know, and he hasn't even been sworn in yet. So I feel like people are going to get more emboldened to be disrespectful and bullyish. And while the price of goods starts to go up, you're going to see an increase in crime, robberies, you know, things like that. You're going to see, and, you know, I know this might sound, you know, a bit extreme, but, you know, in extreme times, people will do anything in order to make money, right? So you got to think about single mothers out there who are working a job that ain't paying enough. Some of these people, some of these single mothers will go into prostitution to get your money. And in the time, if they get pregnant, hopefully they won't be in a state that's going to ban their abortion. You know what I'm saying? You see how a leader, you know, it has this domino effect. You know, it just, a bad thing goes to another bad thing, goes to another bad thing, and then you got a shitload of I mean, there's a whole reason why we have a democracy in this country, and is that so we can have our voices heard, okay? And so that way the majority, we come to a majority opinion, and that's where the direction we go. For years, that's the way we ran our country. But, you know, what happens is the minority, which always seems to take the side that's not very popular, gets pissed because they're constantly being shouted down and marginalized and told, you know, America doesn't want that. Well, after being told this over and over again, you think they would learn and say, look, we're in the wrong country to try to push this. You know, we need to change our perspective. We need to change what the Republican Party is, you know, instead of trying to take these social issues that are really not government issues, but try to make them into government issues, and it's not the right thing to do. Because you bitch at the same time, the government's too big, it's too bloated, it's got, you know, but yet at the same time, the minute you get one of your people in there, you want to have an agency for this, an agency for that, and, you know, just to control people's behavior. And that's the very thing that you people argue against. You know, it's like, if we can't get our way, you know, legislatively, we're going to take over the government and we're going to force it down your throat, whether you like it or not. That's not a democracy. Thinking like that does not lead to a democracy. It leads to revolution. Every time every country that's ever had a dictator has always had to deal with the population rising up against them. Why? Because the fundamental thing that people want, the common denominator, is they want to be heard. And in a government where you're told to shut up and take it up the ass, okay, you know, nobody, that means they don't want to hear you. You're just a vessel. You're nothing. We don't care if you like us or not. That's what Putin is facing right now in Russia. His people are getting really pissed at him, okay? His allies are trying to say, look, stop with the threats of nuclear war because we're not going to back it. This is not what we want. North Korea is getting pissed at Putin because he's using their soldiers as cannon fodder, hoping to, you know, Ukraine will run out of ammunition, okay? This is what happens when you got dictators, okay? Their countries always fall apart. Their allies will leave, okay? And it's just why people in this country, MAGA thinks that, you know, we should have that kind of government here. I don't know. It's because maybe somehow they've reviewed the days of Hitler as some kind of golden year, you know, a golden age, when, you know, they skipped the part about what happened to Hitler in the end. He shot himself, okay, because he lost. His country was completely destroyed. Well, it wasn't his country, as he's not from Germany, but Germany was completely destroyed, all right, and he was cornered. He was in a box, so he blew his head off, okay? Like, that's a dictatorship right there. At the end of the day, they always end up dead, okay? And, you know, and I read this here where it says Tulsi Gabbard is on a TSA watch list, okay, because of her suspicious foreign travel patterns. You know, maybe the nominee for Director of National Intelligence should not be someone who made a TSA watch list for her suspicious foreign travel patterns, okay? Well, that's Trump's, you know, pick for that department, okay? And naturally, he's going to reach for someone who, you know, she might be of value to him when it's dealing with Russia or, you know, or some other country. And already she's under suspicion. You know, what was she doing? Going here, going there. You know, you don't want somebody like that in charge of our intelligence. I mean, we already know Trump doesn't have any respect for national intelligence or national security for that matter, because anybody that'll turn around and sell the stuff that he took out of the White House to different people, and we don't even really know all the people that he sold his shit to, he doesn't care. He's in it for the money. He was in it to get money, okay, and to help out his buddy dictators that are around the world. And, you know, it's too bad that we never actually got to put him on trial for that, because you know, now that all the charges on him about these matters and stuff have been dropped by the courts, now we're never really going to know how deep, you know, the betrayal of our country's national security went with him. Okay, from what we know already about it is pretty disgusting. Okay, this guy is a traitor to America. You know, just like Aldrich Ames was, and Robert Hansen, okay, those people were traitors to this country, and they paid for that, rightly so. They spent the rest of their lives in lockup, okay? And Donald Trump, he did this while he was president, okay, and got away with it. And, you know, it's because he had money in order to do that. He bought off judges, you know, he used his power inappropriately to get people in high positions so that way they can cover his ass. All right, and you know, he played the country against itself. And so naturally, when it comes to national intelligence, he's going to get someone that's got probably a shady back. He probably knows a lot more about her than the investigation ever did about her. But I'm telling you right now, I mean, birds of a feather, okay? She's into something, and we probably won't know about that for a while. It all depends on how much the FBI or, you know, or the CIA or whatever, how much they want to really dig into this woman's background to figure out what the hell she was doing, because, you know, we could end up with someone here that's already compromised this country's security, and Trump is going to be putting her right back, you know, right back in the box to continue doing what she was doing. So yeah, I mean, I was really kind of shocked by that. And you know, all this stuff going on, and Trump's out there trying to sell more of his damn Bibles. You know, maybe they ought to put him as president of the shopping channel or something like that, because he seems to be, while he's fucking us in the ass, okay, he's making money selling photographs of himself fucking us in the ass. You know what I'm saying? That's what you get out of this guy. You know, that's what you get out of this friggin' turkey here. And well, I don't know, people. And of course, the House just 2 days ago passed a bill that allows Trump to silence critics, label nonprofits as terror groups. You see what he's doing? He's starting to tighten his grip now around opposition. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of things. There's so much stuff that I could be doing. You know, if I had the ability to put out 4 or 5 videos a day, that would be probably what I'd need to do in order to cover the news as it's been coming out. So what I've done is I'm going to just put, you know, on my channel links to things that I've already seen and think, you know, you should see. Okay, and so that way when I do videos and I refer to something, okay, then you'll say, oh yeah, I remember seeing that. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So that way you won't feel left out of the loop if I bring it up in a later show. So, you know, if you see that I put a link up there, you don't even have to read it. You can just listen, you know, but because they're just videos, right? So yeah, just, you know, and you know, I don't get big long ones unless I really think they're very important. You know, if it's like an hour or something, and you know it's something that I think is very important, and I'll probably bring it up in a video. But I try to take small clips of videos, put them up, you know, here. But if I put a link to one near on my channel, that means it's probably copyrighted, protected, so I can't put it in one of my videos. You know what I'm saying? So you should see it anyway. Okay, in that fashion. I just don't want people to feel like I'm talking about something they don't really know or know anything about. But that's what I'm gonna have to start doing, because the news is just keeps pouring out every day. I mean, the minute I end this video, there'll be like 10 things that'll come out that I'm gonna have to talk about. So anyway, that's gonna be it for today, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the week, and I will try to stay on these things as best I can. So subscribe, comment, and share, and keep your ears open for health matters, and treat each other nice out there as we get into the holidays. So I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.